My grandfather started the business, started it all. My dad drove pretty exponential growth. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I wasn't necessarily interested in joining or taking over the family business. I kind of just fell into this and grew with the company. I hope that at least one of my daughters is interested in getting involved in the business. I think that's a challenge that a lot of family business owners face, is that people just think they're entitled or they haven't earned their spot. I had a pretty close relationship with my grandfather. I knew him pretty well. And I think that if he could see our company core values today, he would think, yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I had in mind.
Strengthen the love, the legacy, and the lifestyle in your family business. This is Fearless Family Business. Can you learn to love the family business, even if it wasn't originally your passion? Hey everyone, I'm Adam Hill, and this is the Fearless Family Business Show. And my guest today is Taylor Gandy, a third-generation CEO of Gandy Installations in British Columbia, a business that started in 1957 and is thriving under Taylor's leadership. So Taylor didn't always want to join the family business, but what struck me most about this interview was how deeply he values earning his place, having done nearly every job in the company, from washing trucks in the rain to being in the top chair. His story is a reminder that legacy isn't a handout. It's something we build with grit, humility, and heart. And as we talk about in the episode, the right system also helps. So I hope you enjoy this powerful conversation on redefining leadership, legacy, and how to lead with purpose. And if you want more family business content, then hit the subscribe button, because we've got more fearless conversations on family business coming your way. Taylor, welcome to the show, man. It's so good to have you here. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
Yeah, man. So you have a third generation family business, and it's at that point it's getting into legacy. So you're talking about cousins and different, your grandfather starting it. I'd love to hear a little bit about the history of your company, how it started, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure, yeah. So my grandfather started the business back in 1957. He had a partner when he first started it. It was actually called Atwell Gandy. His partner's name was Ken Atwell, who was an electrician. So it was electrician and heating. After some time, Ken passed away, unfortunately, and ended up dropping the electrical side of the business and just being a heating business. And recently we've brought electrical back on, and that's become a big part of our business now. So we've kind of come full circle there. I got involved right after high school. I wasn't necessarily interested in joining or taking over the family business, but I was working at Zeller's at the time, not really enjoying it. And I came on as a delivery driver. So I was just kind of running around in a truck delivering materials to job sites. And it kind of progressed from there. I started doing maintenance and then getting into repairs, and then eventually came into the office and started trying to, inspire some change around here, put some structure in place.
Nice. So you said you didn't have a desire to come into the family business necessarily. What was it when you were growing up that you wanted to do? Like what inspired you?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I've always kind of been into creating things. I thought for a while that I was going to be a graphic designer and I'd go to school for that. But I mean, when you're a kid, you're not really you're not looking into how many jobs or what a position pays, or at least I wasn't. And I kind of dug into it a little bit and realized that wasn't going to really pay the bills, and there wasn't a lot of jobs to be had in that market. There's a lot of people looking to get into that. So yeah, I kind of just fell into this and grew with the company.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you kind of learn to love it right away, or did it take some time? How did that journey go for you?
I enjoyed myself right off the bat. Yeah, I mean, we've always had a really good group of people working here. So it's really easy to get along with the crew that we've got and the people that we've got. So yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed myself right off the bat. I didn't have to learn to love the business.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, having grown up in the business, did you get a chance as you were growing up to actually experience some of what was going on in the business? Were you kept on the periphery? How did the family look for you? How the business look for you growing up, and what was your exposure to it?
Yeah, I used to work a little bit in the summertime and stuff like that, or even just on weekends. I'd come in and I'd be doing a lot of real grunt work. washing trucks in the yard in the rain. It felt like we were doing, or we have a sheet metal shop, so I'd be running sheet metal through a machine, making what's called S cleat and drive cleat, which is the pieces that attach ductwork to one another. But it's just running big pieces of metal through a machine and then bundling them up, and it feels like you're doing important work, but really I think I was just being given an opportunity to be exposed to the business and make a little bit of money on the side. But I didn't really get to engage my brain or do anything really difficult until I joined, after graduating high school.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's a unique perspective we have coming from family business background. As we were often like you were, I was put in just the jobs, kind of the stuff that nobody else wanted to do. I remember stuffing fibers into little baggies as samples that they were going to give to people, and making like a cent for each of them, each bag I produced. But it was that first experience of just seeing the rewards of it and knowing that. And I don't know, did that shape you at all? Like as far as like what your work ethic was, or what your perspective of the family business was at that time?
Yeah, you learn how difficult some of the stuff that has to be done can be, right? I think the mistake that a lot of people make is with family businesses, they don't like I've worked in almost every position in the company, right? Like I've had at least an opportunity to be exposed to a lot of that. So you don't take for granted what some of the positions require on a day-to-day basis. Being out in the elements and working on a rooftop, getting pounded by rain or snow or whatever else might be there, right? So I think it's important to be exposed to all of that stuff and have a sound understanding of what every seat in the company contributes.
Yeah. Does that give you kind of a unique perspective on business? I mean, do you think that family businesses in particular, do you think that's an advantage for them to have it so that the family members may be exposed to different parts of the business versus maybe a more traditional company that is more, I guess, we're hiring for the position and keeping everything more compartmentalized. Do you feel there's any advantage there?
I think there's a huge advantage to working side by side with people when you get into a leadership position later in life, right? Later in the progression of the business, because people can see and understand that you know how to do the work that they do as well, and you're not just being kind of handed something on a silver platter. And I think that's a challenge that a lot of family business owners face, is that people just think they're entitled, or they haven't earned their spot. But if you're there doing the work side by side with people, they can absolutely see that you are capable of doing it, and you've kind of earned your spot from their perspective, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I feel that there is that different level of almost having to prove yourself in a way that you're not entitled. It's almost proving the negative that you're not here just kind of taking from the company. You are contributing, and you almost work harder for that to
Mm-hmm.
put that off. Did you ever run into that in the company where you have you ever seen any sense of entitlement coming from anybody within the family, or anything like that kind of reared its head during your tenure?
No, I'm basically the only family member that's gotten involved to a big degree. So no, I didn't see that on our end. I've got friends who work in family businesses and they've faced that challenge, so I've kind of seen it firsthand. I can't say that I really ever experienced it though. I spent a lot of time in the field. I was the service tech. I was running around fixing equipment and that kind of thing. And as we brought some of the younger guys on and the newer team members, I remained one of the people that they'd call for help if they ran into something that they couldn't handle. So when you've been that person who can kind of provide that expertise, then I think that alleviates a lot of that from happening.
Yeah. How's
Yeah.
the business structured now? So you're the president. Is your dad still involved? Mom still involved? Any of the family still involved at all?
Their dad is just exiting the business. He still comes around, like he's present. Everyone knows who he is. He'll come by and do some running around, maybe some bank runs or run to the lawyer's office or whatever. But no, I'm the primary. I'm the CEO. I'm running the day to day. And a year ago, or just over a year ago, I brought on an integrator too, and that's been really helpful to allow me to kind of focus on the really important stuff and the stuff that I really enjoy doing rather than managing the day to day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to double click on that part because that's something that family businesses I feel struggle with. I know we did with the idea of separating out this visionary and integrator idea. I mean, a lot of times I think, especially for legacy companies like yours or our or mine that were many generations old, it was like, hey, the founder, the parents, they're doing multiple jobs, they're wearing multiple hats. But I think that definition of value has changed so that that you almost have to be in that zone of genius and delegate out the other stuff. And we learned that in EOS. So how did that conversation go as far as separating out visionary and integrator? And did you identify for yourself that maybe you were best suited for that visionary role and just maybe weren't suited for the integrator side of it?
Yes, I did. I've always struggled with being someone who has to. I don't do a good job of giving people criticism. I don't like doing it. I'm not good at holding people accountable. Uh, I just want to be people's friends, which is not good for the role. Trying to run a business, right? And luckily, I had someone in the company who had been with us for nearly 10 years at the time. He had run my service department, already had a real sound understanding of the vision that I had for the company, and had proven that he was able to implement that departmentally. So it was an easy, smooth transition. He was the right choice. I had been thinking about it for a while. And so, yeah, it's really taken a lot off my plate in the business and allowed me to focus on the bigger stuff. But also allowed me to have some extra time with my family that I think is important. I got three young kids, three young girls, 10, 8, and 5. And, it's nice to not have to rush into work first thing in the morning. I can take my time, get in a little bit later, and I know that I got people in place to handle anything that might come up.
Yeah. If anyone's struggling with that kind of choice or that decision of removing themselves from the integrator role, maybe stepping truly into the visionary role, how would you help them to get over the edge on that? Like, how would you help somebody to come to that conclusion that there's value in a visionary seat?
Yeah. Um, I think first of all, they need to be sure that the company can handle that extra role as far as finances go. But as long as you can absorb that extra salary, and quite often I think that position pays for itself in efficiencies that are created and that kind of thing as well. But I just I also think it's really important to make sure you have the right person. So you're using your core values as a North Star to choose the person correctly. But I would say just jump in once if you know you've got the right person, if you know that the person you have in mind is going to fit that seat, then take the leap.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and how about your vision for the organization? How does that look right now? Where as to where you're going? What do you see for the future?
Growth, obviously. I think it's important to grow. It's important to continue to be profitable. Um, we like to grow at a more sustainable rate. We're not looking for exponential growth. I think that reputation is really important. So we keep an eye on our Google reviews. We keep an eye on our, what people are saying. We're constantly reaching out to our customers for feedback on how the experience has been with us. So I want to grow without having the customer experience suffer. Um, so it's a balance between the two: growth, but staying true to what we were when we were, first created. When my grandfather started the business, he wanted to serve the community. He wanted to provide excellent customer service, and customer service, it seems like, has kind of gone down the drain lately. It's difficult to find a business that you can deal with that provides the level of customer service we were used to 5 or 10 years ago. We want to be that company. We want to be the company that people say, "Wow, that was an incredible experience." Having trades in your home to do work, it can be a stressful thing. We don't want it to feel like you're dealing with a contractor. We want it to feel like you're dealing with a professional.
Yeah. How do you find the talent there? Like, because I mean, one of the biggest challenges anytime that you do want to offer that exceptional service, which is one thing to say it, but then to actually do it, you have to bring in the talent. You have to have the systems in place to be able to bring it in. What has worked for you to be able to consistently deliver and build that reputation and bring on the right talent that will execute on it?
Yeah. We bring in a lot of junior people, a lot of apprentices who haven't formed bad habits, haven't they may need to be trained on the technical side of things, but we've got enough journeymen on board that we can easily train them on that side. So really, it comes down to being aligned with our core values and wanting to provide that customer experience. Once you know you've got the right person, you can train them to do the job. So we're constantly bringing on apprentices, and then it takes probably 3 or 4 years, but they become leads eventually, and they came to us with the right mentality. So we've trained for the technical side of it, and you got rock stars at that point. So it's constantly feeding that pipeline of new young people, because not all of them are going to stick around. About half of them or more drop off. So you got to constantly feed that funnel and grow them. If the right person comes along that is experienced, we don't pass on people like that. But we've had more success with kind of home growing our team.
That's really interesting that, yeah, because you hear a lot about people trying to hire the talent, the people that have been in the industry a long time, but you mentioned there that you don't want to hire in bad habits.
No,
And maybe somebody that's been in the industry a long time takes a few shortcuts, something that doesn't work well in your line of work.
for
So
sure.
that's one of the first times I've heard, hiring younger people to try to build them up. And so you're almost hiring for character versus experience.
100%.
Yeah.
And core values, right? Like we developed our interview questions so that they give us an idea of whether people are aligned with our core values or not. And if they're not, we'd like to figure that out. The sooner the better, right? Because it's not going to work out long term if they're not.
Yeah.
So what better place than in the interview? So we almost try and scare people off by just being like driving the core values, and you get one of two reactions, right? Either it's not going to work out, or they're super excited that they're aligned with you with their own personal belief system, and happy to work with a company that feels the same way. And we really try and drive home the core values every day. So it's not just a poster that's up on the wall. We really are making all of our people decisions around those core values.
Yeah. What are your core values, if you don't mind me asking?
For sure, yeah. So put the customer first, be passionate, be adaptive, take pride in your work, and have integrity.
Excellent. And when you're interviewing people on those core values, do you have any examples of questions you're asking to try and guide to get familiar if they're aligned?
Yeah, so it depends on the position, but say we're hiring for a service technician. So one of our core values is have integrity, and then we've broken the core values down from there. So how we explain that is like use your moral compass, do the right thing. I can't count how many times we get a call from a tech. How should I handle this situation? And we just answer it like, well, what do you think is the right thing to do in this situation? And they always come up with the right answer themselves, right? So we'll give kind of like a situational thing, right? So we'll say, okay, you come to a customer's house, you find that the circuit board has an issue, and you realize that something was done incorrectly on the last tune-up. The customer doesn't know about this. How are you going to handle this call, right? And some of them will say, well, we just replace the board, and if they don't know our core values, they don't know what answer we're looking for, right?
Right.
And collect from the customer and move on to the next one. Well, we know that person's not right for us, right? We don't want people being taken advantage of out there. So the right answer we're looking for in that situation is, well, I'd probably call and talk to my manager, and hopefully they agree that we should just replace this component for the customer at no charge. Then we know we've got the right person on the team.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So you're actually leading with questions that don't articulate your core values. Like you're not leading with a core value speech. You're
No.
leading with questions first that identify that. That's
Yeah. Like I said, we don't really want people to just tell us what we want to hear,
yeah.
because if they don't truly share those core values, it's not going to work out long term. We're going to run into issues at some point down the road, and at that point, we've made a significant investment in training them. I'd rather just not have them join the team to begin with, right? So.
Yeah. Just save yourself some huge heartache later down the line, right?
For sure. Yeah, because it's hard to let people go, man. That is like, I think that's everybody's least favorite part of the position, whether they deserve it or whether they're the right person or not. It's never fun to do something like that, right? So it's better off to just not make that hire in the first place.
Yeah, 100%.
We've made some wrong hires in the past, that's for sure. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had a really unsuccessful year, and it was pretty obvious why that happened, and we had to let two members of the leadership team go. which was extremely difficult and expensive in some cases too, right?
Right.
But the leadership team has never been stronger. It was 100% the right decision to make, and had to be done, but it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, I think it's Gino Wickman has said it's 36 hours of pain for a lifetime of freedom at that point, like just to let those people go
100%.
through this painful.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. And so your reputation obviously very important to you, and something that's almost integrated into like lots of family businesses. I mean, you look at anybody that's has a legacy of multiple generations,
Mhm.
they're depending on their reputation over the long term. How was that imprinted within the first, like within your grandfather's generation? Did he have some core values, or did he have some principles that he passed on that have stuck with you to this in the into the third generation?
There were never, I don't think that they really ever had any written core values. But I had a pretty close relationship with my grandfather. I knew him pretty well. And I think that if he could see our company core values today, he would think, yeah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I had in mind, even though it wasn't communicated. It was shown just by the way that they conducted business on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, yeah. And so so really it just kind of evolution over time. How did and then your when your father took over, did was there anything that he brought to the business that kind of influenced that reputation in the community? Was it that traditional like first generation is the entrepreneurial like kind of creator, second generation was the builder, and now you're the maximizer? How does that
That's
look in yours?
that's pretty much bang on. I mean, my grandfather started the business, started it all. My dad drove pretty exponential growth, but it was growth without, I want to say, like the proper systems and structure wasn't put in place. So they had a lot of growth. They made good money, but we couldn't grow any further without putting some real structure in place. And I'm the kind of person where I'm all over the place. I'm jumping from one thing to the other. So like there was some resistance when I was introducing EOS to the leadership team, and I was like, look, guys, you may not think we need this. I personally need this structure in place if I'm going to be an effective leader in this business. So, and then they accepted it, and once we implemented it, everyone grew to love it. It's I don't think anyone on my team would want to operate without it anymore. It's just been so powerful for us. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a family business owner or operator and you're looking to get more control over your business, I would love to talk with you. I want to give you a special invite to request a free 90-minute workshop with me to learn the powerful tools of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Just shoot me an email at adam.hill@eosworldwide.com. Again, that email is adam.hill@eosworldwide.com. I'll put that in the show notes as well, and I look forward to talking to you soon. And yeah, I do want to talk about the EOS journey because it's an interesting journey in family business. It seems like you had some of the same resistance I had when I tried to implement it in our business, and it was almost as if I didn't force it down people's throats, but I said, no, this is the way we're doing it. So
Mhm.
did you kind of just make that executive decision and say, no, we need something, I need this, you guys have got to get on board, or what? How did you bring that across the line to people?
I included my leadership team in the original 90-minute meeting where they kind of go over it. And I think most of the people were pretty much on board. But I wanted everyone's buy-in. I think it's super important. I've made the mistake where I have just said, this is the way we're doing something, and it never gets implemented properly if you don't have buy-in from the people who are going to do the implementation, right? But I definitely steered the ship towards acceptance of it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely skepticism. People are just thinking, oh, it's just the flavor of the week or whatever. We had just recently joined a best practice network called Nexstar, who we're still with. And both EOS and Nexstar have been super beneficial to the company. But just how close they were to one another, I could see why it would seem like, oh, we're just trying everything and seeing seeing what sticks, right? But no, that wasn't the case. They were very calculated decisions.
Yeah. Well, tell us about Nexstar because as you mentioned that, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with it, but what was it and how did it benefit you?
So yeah, Nexstar is a best practices organization for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical companies. But before we joined Nexstar, I was kind of like, I didn't know a lot of people in the industry, and if I had met one, I would be very careful with the words I chose with them. You know, you don't want to give away trade secrets or anything like that. But it's called Nexstar Network, and it really is just a massive network of contractors. And the idea is that a rising tide raises all ships, and that was a big aha moment for me when I was going through their first initial kind of trainings that they put you through. It's like, wait, we can all help each other and we can all be better businesses as a result. We don't have to gatekeep information. So it was like a complete change in the way I viewed things. Now I've got businesses that I talk to, and we're happy to, like, I'll send my price book over to someone, or I'm happy to share any information. We'll send all kinds of, I'll talk to someone who's trying to implement a daily huddle, and it's like, okay, well, what do you look at? And it's like, well, let me just send you my spreadsheet and you can just use it yourself, right? Like, and I do that now, but I was in that position 5 years ago where I didn't have any of these metrics in place. And I'm sitting in calls with a bunch of other contractors and they're talking about their numbers and this and that. And I'm sitting here going, oh my God, I don't know the answer to any of these questions. Hopefully they don't ask me what my numbers are. But they get it, right? Like when you're new to something like that and you don't have that structure in place, the only way to get there is from people helping you, right? And it's nice to be able to pass that down to others now as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can't agree with you more as far as like the value of community, a community that like gets what you want and that they have and that has mentorship of that has what you want, the cohort, all of that is so valuable. And what you're saying actually kind of it parallels what EOS is. I mean, EOS is a community of implementers that do the same thing. It's not like there's so much more benefit I think we realize in business when we're helping each other succeed, when we're not thinking of it as a zero sum game.
Yeah.
It everybody. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Rising tide lifts all ships.
For sure. And EOS and Nexstar are very closely integrated. Nexstar Network runs on EOS themselves, and a lot of their management training, like, they incorporate Nexstar into it. So before I even knew what EOS was, they're introducing like the 90-day world and setting these 3-month goals and that kind of thing. So once you really jump into EOS, it's like, okay, I've already been using some of these tools. They just haven't been, you know, pitched as an EOS concept necessarily. So they're very closely integrated.
Yeah. So tell us about your EOS journey. I'd love to hear where you were before you implemented EOS. I mean, you mentioned kind of you were kind of all over the place, but where was the company at? Like how were you and then what was it like before EOS?
We were messy, man. It was like there's fires everywhere and we're constantly scrambling. I mean, I related a lot to, I know a lot of people who run family businesses have read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I think that's my favorite book. I think it's an amazing read, but it's that you're spending all of your time in quadrant one, putting out fires, dealing with the urgent stuff. EOS shows you how important it is to carve out some time to work on these quadrant two activities, which then every time you do that, it reduces the amount of the urgent stuff that you didn't think ahead about that you have to deal with, right? So I think it just slowly moves you more and more into quadrant two. The meetings is the best thing. I mean, like, we weren't having meetings. I implemented like weekly management meetings, but they were so ineffective. Like, we'd get together, we'd argue about stuff for an hour and we'd leave. No one would have any direction, or we didn't solve any problems. And I think that's a good first step for a lot of people if they're thinking about diving into the world of EOS. It's like, I tell people, like, why don't you read the book and just start by implementing level 10 meetings, follow the level 10 meeting structure. And man, is that a powerful tool, the level 10 meeting. And it's crazy because, like, in the book Interaction, they talk about how people go from hating meetings to loving them, and you're rolling your eyes thinking, oh yeah, sure. People literally look forward to the level 10 meeting every week because we get so much accomplished. We solve so many important complex problems inside of that meeting, right? So
Right. Yeah. The level 10 meeting, it's been a game changer. I mean, and your implementer was Renee Russo, correct?
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's amazing. Yeah. She was on this show a few episodes back. Really,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
That was the first one I listened to. I noticed that she was on it. I was like, oh, I got to check out this podcast. I'm always looking for EOS podcasts, and you got a great show. I've listened to a few episodes now.
Well, thanks.
But yeah, hers was a great episode.
Yeah. Yeah. She's incredible. And I would ask like, yeah, what, so hiring the implementer, it's one thing to kind of implement the OS. Some people self-implement, some people go with the implementer. What was your decision? What did your decision look like there? Was it just, we don't feel good about it, we want to accelerate it? Why go with the implementer on that one?
I talked to some people in the business. So I learned about EOS in one of my, I'm in a Nexstar group. It's called a personal board of directors. And it's basically, we meet on a biweekly basis and we talk about, some struggles that we're having or share best practices. And, someone often picks a topic. And one of the guys that owned a plumbing company on Vancouver Island, his name's Brody. He owns Super Plumbers. And he was one of the really successful people in the group. And he said the topic that he wanted to talk about was what was the best thing you've done in the last year for your company? And when it came to him, he said implement EOS. And then all the other really high performing companies, I could see them nodding their heads. So I reached out to them and started asking questions about it. And the majority of them had worked with Renee. And they all kind of said the same thing, like, look, you can self-implement, but you're going to make progress so much faster working with an implementer. And I've tried to implement things myself, and I don't think I was ready for the challenge. I just said, you know what, I think this is going to be so much more effective if we use a professional, and really glad we made the decision that we did. Not that self-implementing isn't the right choice for some businesses, but using an implementer was absolutely the right choice for us.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think it's just it feels like you just have to every company has to evaluate where they're at, what their capabilities are, what their ability to invest is, and if it's the right thing for them. And so your
I think the
experience,
size,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. I think the size of the business too. Like we were a $10 million company at that point. We've had close to 100 employees. I think with like a smaller business with just a few people, self-implementing is probably the best way to go. But man, trying to make changes, it's a big ship to steer a company with that many people. So I think having that extra backup is that really helped a lot.
absolutely, yeah, it's a great point. I felt the same way when we implemented. It was like, okay, yeah, we have 150 employees and we're 100 years old. We've got a lot of that legacy baggage we got to work through. And I think I would wonder, speaking to that, how has EOS helped as a third generation company? A lot of, it's called the Entrepreneurial Operating System, implying that, it's for entrepreneurs that are growth minded, that they're in that first stage. But how has it helped from the standpoint of being that third generation business that's already well established? What did it do for you specifically in your company that helped you to grow or break through a ceiling?
I think it's just the whole. For me, what EOS boils down to is you're not trying to solve every problem at once. And I didn't get that. I was trying to solve every problem at once and making no progress on any of them like we do, right? So it was picking the most important things that were going to move the needle the furthest and just hyper focusing on them and seeing them to completion. And then over the course of a year, you've solved a big handful of problems rather than made just a tiny bit of progress on everything. And you're kind of just still stuck in the same spot you were before, right? And we continue to improve upon that. I mean, we're taking on less and less rocks every quarterly. It's like, okay, we're going to take on less and we're going to do a better job of it. So, the less that you have to focus on, you feel like there's a bunch of big problems and they're all important, but you really need to pick what is the most important and let's actually properly solve this. And then next quarter, we'll focus on the next most important things.
Yeah. Oh man, I can totally resonate with that. The idea that everything's on fire and we need to fix it all now.
Yeah.
And yeah, EOS is an incredible tool of helping to prioritize those issues and recognizing. I mean, like every company has issues. It's not like anybody's immune to it. It's not like great companies just don't have issues. They just get better at solving them and
Oh, yeah.
prioritizing them. So.
Yeah.
So where are you now? How do you feel? And how many years are you into your EOS journey here?
We're 3 years in. We graduated last year. We're not using Renee for our quarterlies anymore, but I did ask her to stay on for our annuals because I like having that once a year outside perspective. It's nice to have that. Plus, she's very structured. She keeps us on task. My integrator's done a fantastic job of running the quarterlies, and Renee has been kind enough to still jump on pre-quarterly calls with us and help make sure we're on the right track before we jump into those quarterlies. So we're running quarterlies on our own. We're still using her for the annuals. I don't know unless she cuts me off that I'll ever stop doing that. I think it's great to have her in to help us through that process because the annual is the most important, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we kind of followed a similar track too. Just the annuals that they are very intense. I mean, they're 2 day meetings, back to back, and you're going into team health. So team members who are involved in the team health and trying to facilitate it gets a little funky there.
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
for sure. And a lot of people really struggle with some of those team health exercises. I like to have fun with everything. I don't really stress about it, and I actually kind of enjoy some of those. But it's not an easy. It's not not everyone's like me. It's not an easy process for everyone. It's actually physically draining for a lot of people. I try and do our annuals on like a Thursday, Friday, so that people have the weekend to recover after. Because we've done them midweek sometimes, and it's like people come to work the next day, and it's like, oh, did you sleep last night? Like you look exhausted. It's funny because like the annuals and the quarterlies, it seems that some people get absolutely re-energized by that, and then some people like they come out of it, re-energized, but like the day after or the day of, it's like they look like they got the crap kicked out of them sometimes, right? So,
They're intense meetings, but highly rewarding.
oh yeah.
Yeah. How have you? What are some of the top things that you've seen in your business that have changed since implementing, since you started to where you are now? What's different?
Focus. We're focused on the most important stuff, getting that stuff solved. Our meetings are way better. We were having before EOS, like the managers meeting was the only meeting we were having. Now every department has weekly or bi-weekly meetings. The amount of different things that we're measuring, like we were not looking at any of our numbers before. And now we've got so many metrics and we've got such a handle on where we are. Like I remember 5 years ago, I would find out how the year was at the end of the year. Like I didn't know on a month-to-month basis how we were doing, whether we were on track. We're setting goals and hitting them now. And the communication that is happening within the business at every level is incredible. Like everyone has an opportunity to be heard and to put their ideas forward. So yeah, communication has been a huge one as well.
That's so great. What are you? So you've talked about kind of your future for growth and what you want to see at least for the next phase of this company, and knowing that you're kind of building the systems now, putting the systems in place to be successful into the next generation. What do you see as the legacy of your company? Like what's in store for the next generation? How are you thinking of passing it on? Do you have any ideas there?
I hope that at least one of my daughters is interested in getting involved in the business. I mean, if all of them were, that would be great. I think a completely female-run business in the trades is awesome. We've got a lot of females on our leadership team. They do a fantastic job of leading that, and it's kind of outside of the norm. It's pretty male-dominated industry. So. I love seeing that. So I hope that to get them involved, and I hope that they're as passionate about it as I have been.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I know they're young still. Is there anything you're doing to prepare?
Just trying to build the values and hard work and stuff into them, right? So really, it's just about making sure they're good people, and I think the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. And I know that giving back to the community is also important for you and the organization. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about that? What are you doing and how are you how are you giving back to the communities?
Sure, yeah. We try and do that all the time, but the two of the big things that we do, and I mean, I think this is super important because the communities that we live and work in are what got us to where we are. There's no way we would have seen the success that we saw without the support of the communities. So we're partnered with Lennox. They're one of the main manufacturers we partner with, and they do a program called Feel the Love. So once a year around Thanksgiving, they donate furnace and air conditioner to someone in need or someone who's just been a real contributing member of the community. So we look for nominations and then we pick someone who's going to get a full system installed at no charge. So Lennox donates the equipment, my employees donate their time, and then we donate all the materials required to put the system in, and we get to come in and save the day for someone. And we get so many volunteers for that. That we end up having people outside mowing their lawns and pulling weeds and all kinds of stuff because you can only cram so many people into a mechanical room. So or we're walking around the neighborhood trying to help some of their neighbors out with some issues they're having. So that's a really rewarding thing that we do every year. We also partner with a company called Blanket BC Society, and he's a local guy who has been doing this for quite a while, but he brings blankets and warm clothing to shelters and the homeless. So every year around Christmas, for a couple of months, we take donations from our customers of blankets and we give them a discount on their repair or a discount on their maintenance. And we usually end up with a couple pallets full of blankets that we can donate to them. They also do something called Drive on the Line. So our SkyTrain system here in Vancouver, the fellow who started Blanket BC, he worked for the SkyTrains. So he's got an in with them, and they set up on all the main stops on the line, and they take cash donations and blanket donations. So we put a team together to volunteer for that, and it's fun because I get to bring my kids along to both those events as well. So I'm already instilling, giving back to the community and helping them understand why we do that kind of stuff at a young age. And I just think that that's super important for them to be exposed to that as early as possible. They love doing it too. So
Yeah, I love that. So you're even getting in the next generation how the giving spirit, how important that is in business and being a part of the
100%.
community.
You
That's
bet.
great.
Yeah.
As we kind of reach the end of the show here, what other advice would you have for somebody who is just about to enter into their family's business? Maybe maybe it's a multi-generational family business. Maybe their parents started it. What advice would you have for them in terms of entering into it? What questions should they be asking?
Yeah, I think that they need to spend some time with every seat in the business and get a proper understanding of what everybody contributes and how important every role is. Uh, and then listen to what the people have to say. I think that you can get some incredible feedback from your employees who are dealing directly with your customers every day because they're getting that feedback from your customers indirectly, or it's amazing the ideas that some employees have that are incredible ideas. They just need to be asked or they just need to be given and a way to provide that feedback, right? So every couple of years we do an anonymous employee survey and that's how we gather a lot of feedback, and we give people a way to do that without having to worry about their name being attached to it if it's a criticism of some kind or whatever. So but I think that someone entering the business, especially someone younger being brought in, like I did a lot of that when I entered the business, just talking to the people in the field and getting their perspective on things. And will be a lot more open with you than they will someone who's in my position now as the CEO, right? People hold their cards pretty close when you get into those positions, but when you got the boots on and you're working beside them, I think they're a lot more likely to tell you how they really feel about how things are and how they think they should be.
That's amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And you have the benefit of doing that when you're just coming into the organization, and that's another benefit of family business is you can treat. It's cliche to say treat everybody like family, but
Mhm.
it's treating everybody with an elevated level of respect that they have an equal share at the table. And it
Yeah,
sounds like that's what you do.
100%.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, this was really, really great. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and your experiences working in the family business, and what you've done and how you've implemented EOS in your company and built another generation of success and built that foundation for the next generation as well. Where can people, if people want to get in touch or reach out to you if they're in the BC area, where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, the company's called Gandy Installations. We're pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram, we're Gandy HVAC at Gandy HVAC. We do have like LinkedIn and Twitter pages, but we're a lot less active. I haven't been able to wrap my head around LinkedIn yet. I'm too much of a blue collar boy, but just shoot a message on Instagram. I think that's probably the quickest way. Or anyone can reach out and email me if they want. It's Taylor Taylor at GandyHVAC.net. So GANDYHVAC.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank you, Taylor. This was amazing. And I really appreciate you being on the show, and everyone else out there. Appreciate you tuning into this. If you feel like there's anybody else that could get value from this, please share this episode with them. This helps get the word out about family business and how to make family businesses better. We make up 60% of the United States GDP. And it's important that we continue to level each other up. And just as Taylor said, rising tide lifts all ships. Let's lift each other up. Taylor,
You bet.
thank you so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me on, Adam. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.